What's up, guys? Justin with the Podcast Dojo. Today on Abandoned Locations, we are going to talk about the first enclosed shopping mall in Michigan, the Pontiac Mall, or as some of you may know it as Summit Place Mall. Pontiac Mall was built in Oakland County and in Waterford Township area. The two original anchors were a single-level Montgomery Ward with a two-level Hudson. There was an outer parcel of the north of the Montgomery Wards, which was a supermarket, and that would later be rebranded as a Farmer Jack's grocery store in 1967. Wards opened before the mall on February 1st, 1962, while the mall itself opened on April 1962. Despite the cheesiness of that commercial, they weren't wrong. There would be many expansions throughout the mall's lifetime. In the mid-1960s, Ward expanded in the eastern part of the store with an additional 200,600 square foot expansion. Hudson's expanded in the western part of the store, and competition would start to arise in the area as well. Just 11 miles away in different directions, you had Tel 12 Mall and Oakland Mall opened in 1968. 12 Oaks Mall opened 15 miles away in 1977. Also in the 1970s, one of the elephants from the 1970s film Elephant Walk starring Elizabeth Taylor was buried near the mall.
Summit Place Mall expansion celebration update.
Well, we're here at the Summit Place Mall, and folks, can you sense that the mall is expanding even as we're standing here?
Yes.
Yeah, because there's 70 new stores, over 100 stores in all, expanding all the time. Wait, can you feel that just now?
Yeah, felt that shimmer.
I think another store just opened. So come on out to Summit Place Mall. We're constantly expanding, constantly growing, and was that another? I believe another store just opened.
Despite the cheesiness of that commercial, they weren't wrong. There would be many expansions throughout the mall's lifetime. In the mid-1960s, Ward expanded in the eastern part of the store with an additional 200,600 square foot expansion. Hudson's expanded in the western part of the store, and competition would start to arise in the area as well. Just 11 miles away in different directions, you had Tel 12 Mall and Oakland Mall opened in 1968. 12 Oaks Mall opened 15 miles away in 1977. Also in the 1970s, one of the elephants from the 1970s film Elephant Walk starring Elizabeth Taylor was buried near the mall. But that didn't slow down Pontiac Mall as they opened a two-level Sears in the north section of the mall in 1973. General Cinema Corporation opened the Pontiac Cinema 1 and 2 in the southwest section of Sears. A third screen would be added later, and the movie theater would ultimately close in 1993. JCPenney's would enter the picture in October of 1988 that had 2 floors and was west of Montgomery Ward. The mall on opening day was 389,500 square feet. By 1989, it was now 1,340,000 square feet. Along with all these expansions, the name of the mall would now change to Summit Place Mall. There was also a Kohl's added as well as a food court called Picnic Place. 3 strip malls were built around Summit Place: Oakland Point in 1988, Summit West in 1991, and Summit North in 1993. Now the mall shopping area was over 2,500,000 square feet. Surely nothing could take down this mall, right? Well, no. By the late 90s, Summit Place was in trouble. Hudson's would become Service Merchandise, and then that would close in 1999. Montgomery Ward closed in 2001 along with the company-wide closures. It didn't help that in 1998, Great Lakes Crossing Outlet Mall opened in 1998 and only about 4 miles away. Marshall Fields would fill the old Hudson's location, and Summit Place would be sold to Namco Capital Group in 2002. There were plans to turn the mall around, such as naming the mall Festivals at Waterford, with a children's play area and an indoor water park inside the old Montgomery Ward building. Only the children's play area came to fruition as there was fear from the city that they wouldn't make enough to profit off of the water park. Marshall Field would be turned into a Macy's in 2006, only to close 4 years later in 2010, with JCPenney's closing a month later. By the mid-2000s, Summit Place didn't even have any food court tenants. Kohl's would close in 2009, making the vacancies in the mall 96%, including the strip malls around Summit Place. On September 10, 2009, The interior of the mall closed aside from the anchor stores, which had closed in 2010 as I had mentioned. Sears, however, would stay open until December 7, 2014. Namco would default on their loan and give their mall back to their lender, SD Capital. Presently, the mall is not a very safe place to be. I didn't hear a lot about crime in the area, but I hear the area is pretty sketchy. What makes the mall dangerous is that inside there's lots of water damage and black mold. Currently, SD Capital is being pressured to either tear down the mall or refurbish it. Now, what do I think of the mall itself? Pretty impressive to survive all those years, to have all those expansions. I feel most malls built in the 60s were what I like to call experimental malls, since it was in the early stages of shopping malls and most developers didn't want to go all out in case the mall didn't work out. This usually leads to the inevitable bigger, better mall taking over. Now, what about the water park? Well, I think it may have worked. I think a small indoor water park is actually a really cool idea. The Sears at my local mall still doesn't have a tenant after 7 months. And honestly, if I was rich, I would develop a water park in there if the mall allowed it. However, given the state that Detroit is in economically, I'm not surprised the mall ended up failing. Regardless, it's still pretty impressive. If you want to see more of the inside of the mall, Ace's Adventures has been inside the mall, so I will leave an annotation so you can see that for yourself. But for now, I hope you enjoyed the video, I hope you learned something, and I will catch you guys next time.